Mazoe para ficar. Hi guys.
Hello.
How are you doing today? No. You there? I'm used to saying that.
I'm literally crying, I'm sorry.
Wow.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel.
My name is Vince.
Okay, and I'm Rue. Welcome back to Trash Talk with Vince and Rue. So today we are back with another video. We just want to say many thanks for the last video that you guys watched. We had some really good comments, there's some great reaction, and for the first video as well. You guys are amazing. We've got quite a few subscribers now, which is really good. So last week we had asked you guys to like send us some questions to answer on our last video, and some questions we kind of just took like the more like personal ones, and they're the ones that we answered. And some of those questions that you guys sent, we're actually going to be answering them over the next few videos. Yeah. So one of the questions we were asked was, how do we bring up the mental health question or mental health issues with our parents?
Well, that was an interesting one because there's actually a lot of ways you can answer this question.
Yeah.
But from obviously kind of not really interviewed, we just asked a few questions to our parents on how they would tackle this question as well. And obviously my mom, she said, just be calm, just be forward to it. It's kind of different because she's been exposed to mental health issues while she's in Australia, and that we grew up here as well. So being that as it may, yeah, she'll be more inclined to be open about it and actually discuss it in a kind manner and be open to whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, and just a disclaimer before we like go any further with this video, Vince and I are not like mental health professionals or anything. We're just going to be sharing like our experiences and things that we've seen around and some things that we've been through. Yeah, but if you feel like you need help with mental health, make sure you get the proper help. Make sure you talk to someone that you love and you can trust, as well as I think we'll probably link some things at the end of the video.
Some websites and stuff.
Yeah, some resources that you can use if you're struggling. Otherwise, I feel like this is an issue that we all struggle with, especially as young Africans in diaspora.
Yeah.
So we kind of narrowed it down to like our culture, like why it's difficult. Yeah, why it's difficult to have that conversation. So we narrowed it down to our culture as well as
parental roles.
Yeah, parental roles in general, which kind of links back to our culture. Yeah, in a way. Do you want to start?
Yeah, well, with culture, it's a no-brainer really, because it's still going on now. The things that our parents went through when they were younger, the things that they learned from their own parents, they still are using that method of parenting even today. Obviously there's a few minor changes because they're in a different country, but they're kind of still basing it on what they learned when they were younger. For example, men being in leading roles and being, the head of the family. And obviously as kids, when we watch our parents, and some of us end up taking it from them.
Definitely.
Whereas, the ones that have grown up here, they've been introduced to many different other cultures, and also have been able to watch other different households, including some even Zimbabwean or African households in general, and they now have that mentality to say, oh, why is this family so different from mine? Or why are they better than ours? Or can we not incorporate some of what they're doing in our family, it will help or make it better. And that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, so just based on what Vin says, I think that it can either help or it can not help. Because from my conversation with my mom, the way she basically explained it was that like the context in which they were raised actually did not accommodate for mental health issues. So like in this day and age, we know that a mental health illness is just as, you know, as bad as any other illness, like, you know, someone having cancer or having any other chronic illness, like, I don't know, like diabetes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So like in today's world, like the world that we live in here in Australia, that is what mental health is now classified as. Whereas when they grew up, mental health illnesses just did not exist. Like from what my mom said, like if you wouldn't even, like, they wouldn't even go to their parents saying, you know, mom or dad, I'm feeling depressed. Our culture, as well as the context in which our parents grew up in, did not facilitate for things like mental health illnesses. There was this huge stigma around it, and so when they grew up, they were so scared. Like if they were feeling, you know, anxious or depressed about something or really nervous, they literally had nobody to go to. Like in our culture, like certain things you can talk to your parents about and certain things you can't. Like, you know, if you need money or if you need something for school fees, you know, money for school fees or like something for school, you can go to your parents and ask them. And then if you want to talk about boyfriends, you know, then you've got the aunties and stuff to talk to. But there was never actually anyone designated to talk about mental health issues with. And because of the way society actually stigmatized mental health, you know, everybody just always used to keep things in. And so our parents, because, you know, some of them survived that and some of them are still being affected by those issues to this day, they cannot, you know, they find it hard for us to say to them, oh mom, you know, I'm depressed, or dad, I'm feeling anxious about this. Because when they were growing up, they were just, you know, they were told, you've got everything that you need, you've got food on the plate, you don't have any bills or responsibilities. What do you have to be stressed about? You know, what do you have to be depressed about? Whereas when you look at it in reality, especially when you're at this age and you're trying to grow up and you're trying to identify yourself, especially in this as well, especially in this context that we now live in, you know, you've got this identity crisis. You don't even know yourself who you are, and sometimes that can be very overbearing. And so if you don't have anyone to talk about it with, you know, you struggle and you don't know what to do, and sometimes it gets worse. And you know, that stigma obviously is still around. Like in mental health, we have a lot of work to do in terms of removing that stigma and people making fun of people that are mentally ill and stuff like that, or people just thinking that, you know, you have to be perfect all the time. I think social media as well plays a part.
Yeah. It starts from even back before we even came in. The fact that I started knowing about mental health issues when I came to Australia. Because back home it was either, you know, chivan, like spirits, like this person's spirits, or oh, this person beat up his mom, that's why it went crazy. Yeah. And then you'd be like, really? That's how it works? Just like that? Or they would use that a person with mental health issues as a way to scare you into, you know, or as a way of disciplining you, like the things you should do and you should not do, or, you know, maybe you shouldn't hang around with these kind of people, or you shouldn't be out this late, or you should always, you know, stay indoors around safe people because you could meet people who are, you know.
But they would never actually directly
say maybe,
issue,
oh, maybe he hit his head somewhere, or he's, you know, like he's actually going through some difficulties in his life. And
it's almost like you're not allowed to worry about things. And there's so many things you can actually worry about. Like my mom gave me an example of when she finished school. Like obviously for some of you guys know that Zimbabwe is not, it's a struggling country. Like, you know, it's a third world country and people are really struggling. Like you get to a point where you finish uni, there's no jobs, you know, you've done this whole degree but you can't even get a job. And that's really stressful. And mom said that, you know, she used to think about all that stuff, but she really had nowhere to go because no one could help her. Not only because, you know, her parents couldn't help her. I think it's a generational thing because they would have had the same experience with their parents and stuff like that. Not necessarily to say that your parents don't support you or they don't love you or anything like that. They just don't know how to have those conversations. And some of those things have actually carried on into today's lives. Like most parents that are still living back home, it's still the same issue. That's how they are approaching these issues with their kids, of which it's even worse now. Like in Zimbabwe, it's even worse. People are a lot more stressed. Like I always say that we come from a sick nation because imagine finishing your degree and you're selling tomatoes on the streets and stuff like that because, you know, there's just no jobs. So yeah, some of that stuff has carried on. And so our parents actually have trouble talking about these things. Like they find it so awkward. Most of them, I think some of our moms have kind of learned to talk about this because most of our moms, they're like nurses and some of them are even mental health nurses. So they're exposed to these things every day, and they see it, and so they're a bit better. But at the same time,
people in those fields are also very wary about their own kids having mental health issues. They
somehow think, you know, my kid could never be like that, and so they still struggle. Because in a way, I feel like Zimbabweans have carried that stigma from back home, that stigma of, you know, mental health is like a white man's disease. Like having a mental health illness, it's a white man's disease. And so they just think, why would my kids ever have that? Because in the hospitals, they only see other nationalities and not necessarily Zimbabweans. But are we not seeing Zimbabweans because it's not something that's prevalent in our society? Or is it because people are actually not reaching out? People are struggling. And it's also another reason why we've had so many suicides and stuff like that. Because people are just not talking about it. So
we claim to love our culture, but when times are tough, we don't seem to support each other. Actually, just put a bar and then let that family deal with their own issues.
And we're still making fun of it.
And we still want to talk about it and gossip about it.
Yeah, we still gossip about it. And so how, like, you know, why would you blame someone for not going to get help? Because, you know, they fear being made fun of in the community. And because our communities are so small, everybody gets to know about it, you know? Yeah, it's tough. And another thing Vince was going to go through is, I think a good point that he made was like parental roles.
Well, parental roles. As you all know, the head of the family starts with the father, then the mother makes up the whole body. That's what you learn as a child. So when it comes down to, you know, when you came to Australia, that was very different. In Australia, it's not the dad who can just work and support the whole family. The mother too needs to work. And that's when things become a bit, you know, handsy. Because now you have the mom who's supposed to be taking care of the kids. She can't do that no more. Or it's not that she can't do it, she can, but it's too much on her own.
She's just as busy as the dad.
And then now you get fathers who, you know, are starting to take time from work to nurture their own kids as well, which I think should just be a normal thing. It shouldn't be like a special thing like, now the dad's taking care of the kids. It should just be normal. Both parents should be able to do that. You should be able to support each other through that. So I was gonna, you know, ask you guys, what do you think about, or has it changed that, you know, the fathers, are they supposed to be taking care of the household the same way the mom does, and not feel emasculated or just feel like it's not something that's supposed to be doing? It's something that they're just doing to support the wife. Isn't supposed to be just, I'm the dad, I can raise my own kids, so does my wife. And fathers who have sons in their families, how do you feel of just letting your wife just raise the kids by herself? Did you have things to teach your own, you know, your sons about how to treat women, stuff like that? Do we just, you know, skip that part and just come in when it's, you know, times are tough, like there's no money in the household, then
or when the kid is that bad in school, or when they have to go to like a mental health facility.
That's when you're like, oh my gosh, now I can become a dad.
Yeah, and I think that's another difficult thing as well. a lot of our dads do the FIFO thing. And because I feel like our culture already kind of cuts off that relationship between father and child. You know, we already have that problem, and because our dads are not around as much anymore, it's even harder for them to come back and, you know, still feel like they're in charge of the house. Like, we've got all this, sometimes like as kids we can be manipulative, like mom can be cool, you know, you can be cool with mom, but then when dad comes back, you know, certain things kind of change. And then, you know, as a child, you kind of get frustrated because you feel like, you know, your dad doesn't get you, so you keep a lot of these things to yourself.
And also just not, you know, totally crapping on the dads. You have to understand sometimes your dad might be having a difficulty connecting with you.
Or they could be going through their own mental health issues that they're not addressing. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I found out with my dad. Like, he started doing the FIFO thing back when I was little. So when he came back, he did the most, you know, to hang out with us. But as you grow older, you kind of like have your own, you know.
You're busy, you put your own life, stuff. Yeah.
So when he came, it was just, hey dad, how's work? And that's it. And when you see him, it's like it's hard to even raise up any conversation with him. Not because you don't want to, just that it's,
you don't love your dad. It's just awkward. Awkward as hell.
And the fact that you can see it from him as well, like he doesn't know what to do. That's, you know, the circumstance.
Yeah.
But it gets better. Like as soon as you start talking about why you're so awkward, you know, amongst each other, and then that's when you start opening that bridge.
Yeah, and I think just to sort of answer this question, you know, how do we bring up the conversation? I think it starts because mental health, the topic of mental health, like one, it's so broad and it can be so deep and very like disruptive to yourself or to whoever you're talking to. So, you know, it's not something that you just want to, it's something you want to do. It's a conversation you want to have with someone you really trust. For me anyways, I feel like if I'm gonna talk to you about my issues, I should be able to tell you everything else. So I feel like with our parents, it starts with the little things, you know, trying to spend time with them. I feel like a lot of us, you know, we hang out with our friends and we have teas and we have coffee or whatever dates we have, but we don't actually do that with our parents. And sometimes it starts when we're younger, you know, when the boyfriend thing comes in, you just cannot, like, especially as girls. Like for boys, I feel like you guys can just do whatever you want. Your parents don't really like have to know, but as a girl, you really like need that advice. You need the advice from both your mom and your dad on, like, you know, what to look out for. But I feel like our culture does not, once again, it does not allow for that. And we don't have those so-called tites that we can talk to kunoku, you know, like we're by ourselves. So yeah, we have to sort of start having those tiny talks with our parents so that when we get to that stage of, you know, mom, I'm going through this, or dad, I'm going through this, it's already a hard conversation, but it's not gonna be as hard as, you know, having a parent that only ever tells you or only ever has a conversation with you about grades or whatever. You know, it's really going to be difficult when, you know, when you've been failing school and all this stuff. They're just gonna look at your failed grades. They're not gonna look at the cause behind. So I think that's also another thing with parents. Let's try to consider, I don't want to feel like I'm telling parents what to do, but I feel like as a youth, this is what would help me, you know, with my parents. Like, let's try to understand each other and like where we're coming from. And for youths, let's not be so angry, and let's not dismiss our parents so quickly. We sort of have to understand where they're coming from. I mean, this is a big change for them. For us, we've kind of had a bit of time to sort of transition, but we're at that point where we're stuck in the middle. So we really have to communicate, we have to work on these relationships, because our parents, to be honest, are all we have when, you know, we're in the diaspora. So we have to work on those relationships and just, yeah, let's not shut them out. Just start having that conversation. It's not gonna do you any harm, you know, telling your parents. And to be honest, if you try to tell your parents and they don't listen, then that's not your fault. You can move on and talk to someone else. at least you have tried. You know what I mean? I don't think any parent is gonna disown you because
it's the first step you take as well.
yeah.
Like if you've never actually spoken to parents about this because you just generally fear what they're gonna say to you. I mean, you should try. At least you know, like after you've tried and it doesn't work, you're like, okay, you won't work with mom. And then you go to your dad. Okay, you won't work with dad. What else can I do? But before you look for other alternatives, at least try. You might be surprised. Maybe my children might respond to you.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to try. But at the same time, just understanding where they're coming from and meeting in the middle some way, and just not keeping to ourselves. I think that's the worst thing you can do. I know sometimes it's hard to just get out of bed and talk about it, and we kind of just assume that our parents don't want to talk about it. But to be honest, I feel like parents are very keen to talk about these things with us. They just don't know how to start the conversation because they never went through this. They never had the opportunity. So when you start the conversation, they're very excited and they're willing to help. Like they've had this exposure to this whole new world. They're pretty scared, and even if they can't help you, I'm sure they can help you get
the help you need.
Yeah, help you get help you get the help that you need. Yeah.
I mean, of course, there's gonna be more on dads, but
I feel like dads are a big issue. I feel like this is a whole conversation on its own. Yeah.
We'll come back to dads. Don't worry, we got you.
Sort of like gender roles and stuff like that in our culture. Yeah, but as for just this question, honestly, guys, just start the conversation. Like, don't be scared. I feel like our youth sort of glamorize. I always say this. Our youth all sort of glamorize the whole "I don't have a relationship with my parents" thing. Like we all kind of think it's cool because it's the standard. It's like it's the norm.
Very cool.
Yeah, but to be honest, guys, if we really want a future and we want those relationships with our parents, we just really have to start. Like we have to start because sometimes our parents are very stubborn. Yeah, and they will not listen to anybody.
It comes from a good place, even though
it does, but
it exits the wrong way out of their mouths.
Yeah, and they sort of assume like if you tell your mom, my friend did this, your mom will be thinking you're doing it too. But I mean, we're all grown. Let's just let's just try to build those relationships. Let's show them that we can do this. That we actually care. And I feel like there are definitely lots of things that are great about our culture. Yeah, and I think we just have to work on getting rid of the bad ones and stuff like that. I'm sure our parents have taught us many, many, many amazing things that we're gonna carry on in our lives. We just have to get rid of some.
The small chunk, but that small chunk is enough to bring everything out. My parents were excellent, right? It's just that dad wasn't around due to work. When we came here, things changed. Dad still did 5-4. I think it was used to do like 4 weeks away and the 1 week back. And that actually affected more than just me and my brother. It affected my mom as well, to the point where you could even Vigil could start seeing the cracks in the relationship between my parents.
Vigil is his brother.
My own brother. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm just assuming you guys know him. And then when that happened, even Dad started noticing. You could see the fights, between amongst parents and stuff. Just like, it's not like those big fights, it's like those little things that they're trying to cover up so that you don't see, the kids don't see it.
Yeah.
And then after that, that's when he changed up everything. And then he started actually trying to, talk to us. And you could see how awkward it was for him. So it was kind of forced, like, oh, damn, it's actually a big problem.
It is.
And of course, he changed his work schedule and all that. And then he was helping around the house. He always does. Just that this time he was actually trying to make an effort to kind of bring the family back together. And that was really good. Whereas some other people are good at ignoring that.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Sometimes you realize that maybe your parents are actually going through their own mental health issues and they don't know how to handle it. So I mean, if you got the help, I hope they don't feel offended. I don't think so. I mean, it's an awkward conversation to have with your child. But for any parents that are watching, I think it would actually help us as youths to know that you're going through the same thing, and that, you know, it's a conversation that we can have together. We can, you know, help each other out. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, I think both parties have to sort of talk and share their experiences and stuff like that. The same way that us as kids should, you know, go to our parents if we need help and stuff like that. And I just really hope, I feel like a lot of the times our parents think that it's only a mental health illness, like when it's severe, where you have to be admitted into hospital, or you've tried to take your own life, you know, and stuff like that, of which, you know, we experience these things every single day in our lives. Like, anything can stress you out, and, you know, you'll be down for like days sometimes, or just for like half the day. Like, and with girls as well, like with our hormones, like I personally go through it like every month. I have
Okay.
Wow. Like every month I sort of get depressed because like my hormones are all over the place, and sometimes I just don't have anyone to talk to, you know. And you know, it would be nice. Sometimes I do tell my mom, like I'll tell my mom that like, Mom, I'm feeling really depressed, and like she'll do her best. Sometimes I'll tell him and stuff like that. So I think it's just good to know that you've got that support, and you only know that you've got that support if you actually go out and get the help. And I
can't wait for you guys to start telling your dads too. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's another cultural thing. You can't really talk to your dads about periods. I don't know why, but yeah, that's the way it is. But hopefully, like, yeah, you guys, I hope we've answered your question. Just start talking. That's what you have to do. You just have to start. No matter how nervous you are or how scared you are, it's definitely nerve-wracking. It's scary, like, for yourself to actually admit, oh my god, I think I might be having like a mental breakdown. But honestly, it can only get better from there if you seek the help. So definitely do. There you have it.
We good?
Mm.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as usual.
And we'll get back to you if we can. Oh.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put some links in our description box. You know, if anybody needs help, definitely get some help. Contact someone, talk to someone you trust. There are definitely a lot of services out there for you. If you need, you know, if it's uni stress, you can talk to your uni about it. If it's any other life stress, talk to a friend, call someone, call the helpline, definitely get help. And, you know, like I said, it can only get better from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And just one last thing. Can someone make a comment about, I just want to know how, if you like the way the video is put out, like, do you have to be very professional, or you just prefer
Do you like it short? Yeah.
Yeah, this.
True.
this
We
talk.
need some feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks guys.
Alright, and see ya.
Bye.